Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this month's webcast. This month's webcast is going to be called Taking Friction Out of the Buying Process. And before we start, I want to first off just introduce our presenters. My name is Sarah Lipisova, and I'm the SEO manager at CountingWorks Pro.
And I am Lee Reams, the CEO and co-founder of CountingWorks Pro. And what I love about this is Sarah knows, because I talk about friction all the time in our own product development, in any of our clients' sites, the way they're designed, the way they tell stories. And I'm always talking about taking friction out of the buying process. So I think this is a good workshop for many of you.
I completely agree. And like Lee said, if you've been tuning into our recent workshops, all of them have been kind of centered around the same idea of optimizing the user experience and optimizing your selling process. And this one is kind of along the same lines of that. It's just another kind of piece of the puzzle of optimizing everything. So we're going to start with kind of telling you what friction is. We're going to teach you how to audit your whole selling journey to identify your friction points. And then we're going to teach you how to remove the friction points and give you tools for doing so.
So about this webinar, approximately 30 minutes long. There will be no CPE credit. This workshop is designed for US-based small tax and accounting practices. However, any other business or practice may benefit. So let's get started. I will do the introduction. So I'm going to read a little bit about this and then get into some more details. So have you ever gone online with the intention of making a purchase, found a product or service that you loved, only to get frustrated by how hard it was to navigate the vendor's website? And the reality is today's buyer will just drop. It's called a bounce, and they'll just leave your website. If they can't get what they want very quickly and efficiently, that they have a bad user experience, they will not purchase. And this is becoming more and more apparent because people's expectations are the same when they shop for other services. So they expect the same user experience they get from Amazon or Apple when they're dealing with other professionals, and that includes tax and accounting professionals. So if your answer is yes, then you have experienced friction in the buying process. So the reality is, no matter how amazing your product or service is, if you make people work to buy from you, people are going to bounce. And that means just leave your site and you will lose business. So in this webcast, we'll teach you how to identify the friction points in your business and remove them to create a seamless client experience. So what is friction? We kind of defined it a little bit before, but customer friction is any step in the customer experience that impedes the customer from purchasing your product. I always call the customer clients in everything we do, but I think you get the general idea. So you don't like friction. No one likes friction. It will make your financial results less. It will make all your metrics from your visitors and your bounce rates to the amount of clients you're converting. They will, if you have a lot of friction, you will not be performing as well as you might be. So let's talk about your buyer's journey and how these friction points work. So are you hard to find? And this is something Sarah works with our VIP clients, is she helps optimize their digital footprint, and both in the website and how it loads, how the website it links, how we then present you to the different directories, and how we track some of the keywords and the way we help Google find your brand. So if someone Googles you, is it easy for people to find you? That's the first thing you should do. Is your information consistent across all platforms? And that is what we do with our clients with the directory management. So, Sarah, when we onboard a new client, what do you see usually on the directories? Do you see a lot of bad addresses, phone numbers, or do you even see a lot of incomplete data?
A lot of the time it depends case by case, but most often people will have just gaps in their data. Like even if their data is consistent, which for the most part, people will come in with consistent data on some platforms, there'll be gaps. And that's where kind of the problem arises, because if you were to get a referral and someone were to Google you, if they see one listing with one phone number, but they see another one with no phone number or with a gap or a different phone number, that's the type of thing that can really kind of frustrate clients. So that's kind of what I usually see, just gaps or just absence of data, if that makes sense. So that's something that we fill out.
It does make sense. And it also confuses Google. And because it confuses Google, and Google's goal is to have a pleasant user experience from their side, their client is that searcher, right? So if Google is looking at businesses and comparing you to another business, and your information is inconsistent, so you have different addresses, different phone numbers versus someone who has a very strong and consistent, we call it name, address, and phone number. What Google will do is it is part of the algorithm, and they will actually reward that other business as they'll give them a little boost in their algorithm. So that business will rank higher than your business. And that is why we work on this first thing for our VIP clients. And that's why it seems, it's kind of a wasted expense, but it's not. The reality is it could be the difference maker between you being on page 1 or page 3 or 4. And Sarah mentioned this. Well, people have to call multiple numbers to reach you because your old phone number is still floating around online. Or worse yet, is someone uses the map directions tool from one of these directories, and they're coming to see you. They're a current client, and they go to the wrong address. So those are all the kind of things that can happen if your directory listings are not consistent across the board. The next one, your website is hard to navigate. There's a bunch of elements here. You're seeing a trend, and what we've been working on with our new platform in 3.0 is very simplified websites that are fast to load. It's Google went mobile first, was it 2 years ago now, maybe? And they are giving more weight to sites that load quickly, that are responsive. They look good on mobile. 50% of your traffic is coming from mobile devices. I think people pick up their phone now 5 to 6 times a day and browse through it. So this is really, really important. Is your Contact Us button visible and easy to access? A lot of times we'll have discussions when we're coaching clients about making it easy for your clients or prospects to contact you, whether that is putting up your calendar, making it easy for someone to schedule some time with you, or just to get a hold of you. And anytime you're putting these roadblocks up, those are friction points. That's when people will drop. So there's people that are visiting your site that could be clients, that could be existing clients that would want to spend more money with you. But guess what? Because you had those friction points, you've lost that business. Do you have broken links? So Sarah, actually, since we're talking about broken links, kind of explain to me how that works and why it is bad in the eyes of Google.
So having broken links is just bad in the eyes of Google because you're creating a bad experience for Google's clients, which are searchers. But it can also just impact how difficult it is to navigate your site. Like if you have a link to a payment portal or to a blog or to a contact button that's broken because you've changed it, that can be a huge deterrent in people being able to contact you. Kind of same as what we said with being hard to find. This just makes it really difficult to navigate your site. So it's important to make sure everything is consistent, everything links to each other, so people don't get lost and hit dead ends when navigating through your site.
Yeah, and I'm going to add, so we mentioned on bullet 4 here, is your calendar hooked up and working properly? A lot of people don't like to put their calendar online, but the reality is if you're looking to grow your practice, we recommend doing free discovery calls. We've had multiple webcasts about one call closes, how to use discovery calls to qualify the prospects and then to sell your value. I think if you haven't watched those, please go back. But the reality here is, now think about this as a user experience. Your prospect was referred to you. They go to your website, they read your reviews. They're like, wow, you know what? The colleague who referred me, I trust. This sounds like they got some great reviews. It sounds like they're, telling a story on their website that is speaking to me. I want to now take the next step. So if you don't have that next step on your site, and one of those would be to schedule a calendar meeting, the chances of them continuing their search and research are much higher. If you could then just cut them off right now, where you can get on their calendar, or they can get on your calendar, they can set an appointment, they could, speak with you in the future. I think that's a big deal. And it really, stops them from continuing that research phase or, comparing you to other people. So these are the things we're talking about when we're talking about your website's hard to navigate, making it easy with the calls to action. And as Sarah mentioned, worse yet, if they're ready to buy from you and then there's a broken link in, a PayPal link, for example, which gets into your buying process. And we say your buying process is strenuous. So are you asking clients to jump through hoops to book time with you? That's what I was just talking about. Do you have a long screening form for clients? I know, we'll hear, I'm so busy, I don't have time. I want to make sure that they're qualified before I talk to them. Well, there's a couple ways to do it. I think the free 15-minute discovery calls do the same process. You quickly, within the first 3 to 5 minutes, based on some open-ended questions, will qualify whether the client is right for you or not. You can put some basic screening in before your calendar, at least to kind of segment them a little bit. But again, the more things that you make them hoops, as we call it, you make them jump through, the fewer people are actually going to get to your, to talk to you, which means obviously less opportunities. Are you charging a consultation fee from the start versus a free discovery call? Those are the kind of things that I think are important. Is your payment portal clunky or inconvenient, or do you not have one at all? Send me a check, Venmo me, whatever. So these are things that we as a platform are working on to make it more a better user experience, but they're definitely things you got to think about and look at your internal, the way you do things today. Your message is unclear. And a lot of what we talk about in marketing, and the reason kind of what CountingWorks Pro does for our clients, is we're really working on the top of the funnel. So how do we build awareness for your brand? How do we then back it up with reviews that start building trust signals? These are some social proof that, hey, this is someone I want to, work with. How do we use the copy on your site to tell a story that talks to their pain points, perhaps identifies some opportunities that they may not have realized that are there? How can I get if I work with you, I can have better financial outcomes, maybe get them to start looking a little more emotionally than rationally. It makes the buying process much smoother, so to speak. So is your value proposition clear to your prospects? I think that is an obvious one. A lot of times people are missing that. They just talk about themselves or their designations and they don't communicate that. Is your website translating in organic search? So are you targeting the right keywords? So are you ranking for the target audience that you want to rank for? And that's something that Sarah works with our VIP clients as she sets them up. Are you transparent with your pricing? I think this is a bigger issue as time goes on, and in reality, it makes it so you can start selling services in a more scalable format and actually get some more pricing power. So, and there's examples where you could be a CPA generalist, for example, and you do virtual CFO and you have 3 packages and you're very transparent of what those are. But if you want to get in a little bit higher end, start focusing on something similar, but to say, I do virtual CFO for startups. And that's where now I'm going to be very transparent. This is what a startup goes through. These are the things that we do for startups. And now you're differentiating yourself slowly but steadily, right, in the mind of the buyer that, hey, this person knows how startup works. They're actually using language in their pricing and how they work with it. So I'm going to get a better result probably with going with a specialist. So that's how you use transparency in pricing. Do you have cryptic messaging on your site that confuses prospects about your services or qualifications? We see this often. People try to just overwhelm the visitor. And just think about it. Everything's visual. And you have very small screen sizes that people are using. So if 50% of your traffic's starting to come from smaller mobile phones, you realize how small that is. So you got to really start thinking about how you build the site. It needs to be clean, concise, and fast. And don't try to confuse your prospect. So this is my favorite part, actually. And Sarah, I want you to jump in here a few times. So identifying your friction points and removing them. So we say start with a friction audit. So I like this quote. 80% of companies say they deliver outstanding customer service, but only 8% of their customers agree. And I think everyone can realize that. Once you step back, and I do it with our own product. I was demoing our 3.0 to my sales team this morning, and I was seeing my own friction points in my own demo. I'm like, oh, why did we do it this way? This is clunky. Those are the kind of things that you'll identify in a friction audit. So carefully audit your customer experience. Try to put yourself in your customer's shoes. Be ready to compromise if necessary. And what we mean by compromise there is sometimes people overwhelm their audience with too much copy, too many images, slowing things down, cluttering things, too many calls to action. You want to simplify it. You want to own it. Think of it as a political campaign. You basically want to own one thing, 2 things max, and make that be your main message. Because by doing that, you actually will speak to more people than a generalist would. A generalist is so watered down. I always give the example of In-N-Out Burger if you're familiar with it, but basically they have an extremely simplified menu. People go in In-N-Out Burger, there's 6 or 7 items. They know what to purchase. If you go to a McDonald's or Taco Bell, you're overwhelmed with the menu, and it basically, that's friction. It makes it harder for people, humans, to make decisions, right? So you want to do the same when it comes to your marketing. So audit how prospects find you, and start with doing a Google search for your business. I know, Sarah, with our VIP clients, we use technology that actually tracks all the keywords that we put in. So kind of explain what's nice about our process when we use this kind of tool, how over time this builds and you get more and more traffic and more keywords that search that actually rank.
Yeah, so when we start just a preliminary audit of any VIP client that we get for SEO, we start with doing just a basic Google search of the business to kind of see what the landscape is like. And just by doing a very, very simple Google search for yourself, you can kind of figure out what you're up against and how you're appearing for clients. It's actually a really, really good way to kind of see where you stand. We use technology that can harness everything that you are ranking for in the very moment that you begin, which is nice because we just have softwares that can kind of pull what you show up for, which kind of helps identify what you should be optimizing for. But if you don't have something like that, you can always just start with a very, very basic search to kind of see what your landscape is like. You have to always remember people are finding you through zero-click searches. So you want to make sure that you are optimized in a way that people can find your information without doing too much work. That's kind of what we talked about in step one of getting found, making sure your information is accurate, making sure everything is consistent, making sure that you have everything set up in a way that if someone were to click on you, they can directly get to what they're looking for.
I was going to add to the zero click, and I'll give an example so people get it. Who is or what is Lee Reams and Associates phone number? That would be an example of zero click search where the user doesn't have to necessarily go to your website, but they would get your phone number or what is their address. So you want to make sure that is accurate, obviously, because that would be another friction point. When it comes to helping you rank better, what we have found the quickest thing for us is reviews and reviews on Google My Business. There is some issues with your geographic area. If you're in a downtown area or metro area and you're trying to rank for an area that your office is not necessarily as close to, that does become a challenge. So there's some ways that we will try to create content around that, but just realize that. But if you want to rank or improve your rankings today, the quickest way to do that is with reviews, lots of them. Get them on multiple properties, get them on TaxBuzz, get them on CountyWorks, get them on Yelp, get them on Google My Business. That will help you rank fast. Clean up your business information across the web. We do that for our clients when they start. So that's VIP clients. We are already doing that. One thing we notice when we have new clients that come in, and even some of our competitors, I don't understand how they get away with this, but they actually don't do SSL security in their base level products. They make their clients pay extra for it. And the reality on the left side here, there's an example of what those people see. This site is not secure. It is the biggest blocker ever. You're probably missing 50% of your traffic because of that. We include SSL certs directly in our product for free. So I don't understand that part, but there's my quote unquote rant for today. Also optimize for mobile and voice search for our VIP clients. We already do that. We submit you to the various voice search directories. And there's a few of them that kind of feed everybody, but we do that as well. So that's kind of the beginning of how an audit works. Here's an example. If you're Googling, this is a branded search, so Perkins CPA Brooklyn. You want to see all the information come up, nice photos, some reviews. You want your website to be ranking number one. This is an example of a well-optimized search result. Accurate information, appointment link, easy to see, phone number. So audit your website and UX. So UX is user experience. So we talked about broken links. Check for any broken links. Do not confuse your clients with dead ends. You can use tools like Broken Link Checker. We do that for our clients now with our own websites when we set them up. But the reality is, as a bad user experience, you're going to have higher bounce rates that people get to through search. They come up with a broken link. So you definitely want to clean that up. Make sure you're using clear and visible links to important pages. Make sure your calls to action stand out. Make it easy to contact you. We'll have an example in a slide coming up of what a clear CTA call to action looks like. See how long it takes to complete your client inquiry forms. If you're asking too much information, clients may drop off. We do that in our own testing. We iterate how many fields it takes for people to fill out. where you want to get enough information that is a valuable lead, right? But at the same time, you don't want it to feel a privacy invasion where they just don't fill out your forms. So this comes into looking at your bounce rate. That's basically people that leave the page and they actually leave your site from that page. So you can find that in website analytics report. The lower your bounce rate, the better. And of course, make sure your site is mobile friendly. We'll keep talking about that over and over again, but make sure it is. And then here's an example of a small call now versus a big call to action that stands out. And basically, again, humans are visual. We've done some studies on colors. We've done studies on the complexity of sites. So simpler sites, 1 or 2 calls to action, they will convert better. So you'll have lower bounce rates. You'll have more conversion on your form. So here's just a quick example of what we mean when we're talking about a clear call to action. So also audit your content and messaging. So take a look at your value proposition and make sure it is clear. And what we find with a lot of clients is this is where a disconnect is. A lot of times they will copy what others have done versus being unique. And clearly, people storytelling sites convert better now. So sometimes it's a little bit out of the comfort zone of our professionals when we say, no, tell a story, use metaphors, talk to pain points, talk about financial outcomes, be aspirational. Those are things that really start setting you apart. And what we're trying to do is also improve the perceived value of your practice. So when I say perceived value, I want the marketing that you're doing, the reviews that you have on your site, the professionalism of the way your site is designed. These are things that are going to help build trust. They're going to improve the perceived value. So by the time someone reaches out to do a discovery call with you, in their minds, you've already started qualifying them, really. You can even qualify them in the copy. You can say the type of clients you work with, and that will immediately say, hey, do I fit that or not? Or maybe they're not used to spending as much money. You already got it in their mind that, hey, this professional is asking for a premium. And that could be true if it's, on the lower level, whatever you're targeting. But realize that that's what we're talking about when we say transparent pricing. So start setting the expectations. It's a building point, and it makes it easier to get a discussion to a close. So pricing transparency establishes trust. No one wants to feel like their accountant is working like an attorney, where every minute when I'm on the phone with you, I'm concerned about the bill going higher, right? And that's what transparent pricing does. And it also weeds out unqualified leads. I think these are all very clear points. A lot of times we will suggest things, and sometimes I wish people would listen more. So cover your availability bases. This is, I think, true if you start looking at marketing. At every single point of contact is a marketing message. So from the way your receptionist answers the phone, the way, how quickly you respond to new inquiries. Are you difficult to get a hold of for current clients? Are you at least being responsive? You might not know the answer, but at least say, hey, you know what? I did get your message. I am working on it. I will reply in X time, and then try to beat that and surprise them, right? So if someone calls your office, make sure they're able to talk to someone. I cannot tell you how many current clients of ours still have voicemails that are full. And it's shocking to me, because with technology, there should be ultimate bandwidth, right? If you're using a VoIP system, there should never be a quote unquote answer machine that is that's full. But these are things to think about. So don't put blockers in, don't put friction in when it comes to actually communicating to you. So, we even recommend considering an answering service, and there's a bunch of them out there now that they're pretty low cost, and they can really assist in capturing more leads 24/7, because not everybody is working 8 to 5 or, doing this search 8 to 5. It's after hours. It's if they're up at night, it could be on weekends, whatever. So make it possible to be contacted at all times. That's where tools like chatbots, online calendars come in, autoresponders, so those are things that you can engage an audience when you're not necessarily in the office. And that's why we recommend those tools for our VIP clients. It helps, if you collect 10% more, 20% more, whatever. I think that goes a long ways in a full year. So those are the reasons we offer those tools to our clients. Okay, assess roadblock. I like this graphic, Sarah. Did you search for this long?
Not for long, but yeah, I like this one too. It's a good roadblock to crack.
All right. So assess roadblocks in your buyer's journey. So if a prospect has chosen to work with you, is it easy for them to do so? So we've been we're just kind of repeating what we're saying. Take a look at your buyer's journey and consider what may be hindering them. And I have another webcast that we're working on it's talking about the entire client lifecycle. And when we say that marketing, so every single digital touch point should be analyzed. What does your invoice look like? How do you present your product? How do are you just emailing it, unsecurely and trying to throw a big bill upon it, or are you putting some more effort into how you actually show the work papers that you're working on? So all of this goes back to that perceived value. So the more refined you are, the more professional you are, the more the perceived value of the service that you're providing, you will get a price bonus. You'll be able to charge more. Consider offering a free consultation. If you're doing our 15-minute free discovery call, the one call closed concept. Again, if you haven't done this, go to our YouTube channel or previous emails. We have sent you kind of our framework on how this works. It is a no-brainer. It is something where you can engage people quickly. You can qualify them quickly. You can then, with open-ended questions, realize what their pain points are. You can then do your presentation, your narrative, your story of how to talk to those pain points and then ask for the sale. So it's a much cleaner, quicker way to free your time and get qualified people coming in. If you pre-screen your clients, consider reducing the amount of your screening questions. We see this a lot. I mean, Sarah, I don't know, is there a record, Sarah, with the most questions someone's asked?
I think the record that I've seen has been like 28 questions to pre-screen a client, which is fun.
Yeah, and I guess the one thing you could say is that client's surely going to be qualified by the time you get through there. But, my guess is you're missing a huge amount of opportunity by putting that much friction in. So remember, you can find a balance between staying in control of your time and respecting your prospect's time as well. I think that's a key. We do understand that. We understand, you're very busy, and especially the last 6 months or so, it's been just absolutely bonkers crazy. So we do get that. So in conclusion, customer friction is any step in the customer experience that impedes the customer from purchasing your product. So let's get your reputation, 5-star reviews. Let's make it to everything they see when a prospect comes into first. The initial impact of seeing your brand is extremely powerful. That starts the trust building process. And by the time you actually speak to them and start working with them, they're going to listen to your advice. They're going to be more apt to not haggle with you on price. So that pre-selling is kind of what we're talking about. So pre-sell your client to make it easy for them to decide to work with you. So focus on making working with you a breeze. Remove any friction points from your buyer's journey by carefully assessing your user's experience from their perspective. Remember, so you're not speaking in accountant speak, you're speaking in the client's view. So if it's a taxpayer, perhaps you're talking about fear. Fear could be part of your narrative and friction about the IRS. If it's about tax planning type clients, it's more about better financial outcomes. How can I save more? How can I realize some huge benefits by doing proactive planning versus just doing historical tax preparation? Those are things that you start using in the way you tell your story on your websites, the copy, the images you use. That is taking friction out of the buying process. Hey, if you need a second perspective, reach out to us. As we continue to get ready for the 3.0 launch, there's a lot of things we're doing in our own, I would say, themes and storytelling, the way we're writing copy. So there's a lot of ways we can help you. If you're not a client with us, we can help audit you as well when you become a VIP client. So there's a lot of opportunities for you. You can email us at help@countingworks.com. If you needed any assistance. We want to thank you for joining us on today's webcast. Sarah, thank you for putting this together. I think it was a very nice, concise presentation. So I thank you for that. And Sarah is one of our leads on here. So if you do become or you are a VIP client, Sarah and Kay are two people that you will be speaking with. And if you're a new client, you'll at some point hopefully be a VIP and reach out to Sarah as well. So any questions, feel free to hit us at help@countingworkspro.com. Again, thank you.
Thank you.